Hi there, my name's Greg Dixon. I'm here with Betty Withrow, and our topic for today is the search for an agent for your book. So we in various many ways. Betty does is a ghostwriter, been doing this for years and years, helping people shepherd their books into existence through the writing process, and then helping them get published. And one of the questions that comes up is, what the heck is a literary agent, and why would you need one? And so Betty has a few insights on this. So Betty.
Okay, yes, Greg, I find that this is a question I get asked a lot. What happens after your book is finished? And people very frequently ask me, can you help me get my book published after it's done?" And so that comes into a layered discussion, because first of all, what do you mean by published? And second of all, what market do you have? And third of all, the first and last question, what do you want this book to do? Now, for most people that I encounter, they don't need to find an agent. That self-publishing is actually the best option for them for many reasons. For one thing, it's very cost effective to self-publish. And if your market is a certain kind of market, it's the best solution for you. For example, if you're a speaker and you're wanting your book to elevate you in the speaking market, you may or may not want to go through having it go through a traditional publishing process, as it's called, because what you really want is to have the credibility that you have this book. You can have a stack of books to sign at the back of your event, and you're one step further toward getting the speaking gig that is actually going to drive the sales of your program in your business. Therefore, you don't need to spend a bunch of time and energy pursuing traditional publishing. On the other hand, some of the people I work with for business books have already got a publisher lined up. Say they have a magazine platform that is interested in their content and wants to pick them up, or they have negotiated a contract with a private publisher, which is a really good way for a lot of people to go if they don't want to just simply, for example, self-publish on Amazon or Ingram or Lulu or Vervante or any of the other self-publishing platforms that there are, which do a great job. I mean, they really do a great job. If you, on the other hand, you want to have something that has a really professional touch to it, there's a couple of things you want to do. You want to have a book designer go through your project and make sure it's formatted really awesomely. Get a really nice book cover design together, and certain other factors. And then also go to a publisher that you can pay for their services, who is going to bring in-house people who already do these things really well. That can be a good avenue to go. That's another kind of self-publishing. And many of those people call themselves hybrid publishers, which means that they both publish on their platform and they also publish on Amazon. So those are the people who don't need an agent. Now, on the other hand, you may have a project that you feel you really want to get a huge audience for, and maybe you want to take it to larger media like TV or movies and things like that. And in order to be able to do those things, getting an agent is the way to go, because they can get you in the door with the traditional publishers who many of them see as many as 1,000 manuscripts a week. And so you want to be represented by somebody who has their ear, or when they walk in, they don't say, "Who are you?" Instead, they say, "Hey, what do you have for us today?" Okay. Or even if they're not walking through the door, electronically, maybe they're walking through that door. But the idea is that people who run giant publishing houses want to work with people that they already know. It makes everybody more comfortable. Their workload is immense. They're reviewing all kinds of things all the time. And so they need their process to be as smooth as possible. And that's what an agent does. Now, how do you find an agent? How do you get an agent interested enough in your book to make the jump to represent you? I have to tell you, this is new for me, because I have not done it before. And I'm learning right now how to do it with a certain person. And I have some resources to offer you today. First of all, The Guide to Literary Agents. This is a great book. It has all kinds of information about what agents what agencies, what publishers, and so on you could approach. And it's indexed really well. It has a lot of great tips. And once you've gotten some of those names and categories in line, then you can go look for the people that are mentioned that kind of pique your interest in the book, look them up online and find out what they want and do the research so that you can write a proper query letter. Now, your query letter to send to an agent, I first got into this a little bit with a friend of mine when I was working with him on his science fiction book. And he was sending query letters because he's into finding the agent. And he's a patient guy with dogged persistence. I know he's going to find what he needs. Okay, so what does a query letter have? The first thing it has is a salutation to the agent that you're approaching. And then you mention a couple of books that they've already represented so that they know more or less that you've done a little bit of research to find out who they are. And, you're kind of like you're trying to tune into their wavelength. And then, for instance, in my friend's book, he does a very short synopsis of the book and a super quick bio of himself, telling the general story arc, not particularly a chapter outline as such, but a general overview of the book and offering to send the manuscript in full if needed. Now that's for one particular agent. Okay. Each agent has a different type of things that they want. One of them doesn't want to see your manuscript unless they tell you so. The next one wants the full manuscript. The next one wants 3 pages. The next one wants 2 or 3 sample chapters. You get the idea. Each agent has a different system that they want in order to be able to review your work and see if it's something they want to work with. Now, once you get that conversation going, it may take anywhere from a month to 6 months to get a reply back to find out if the agent actually wants to represent you or not. And then at that time, they start shopping it out to the different houses that they work with, who once again are familiar with them, and start working on getting you a contract. An agent is going to take a percentage of whatever you bring in from the book, and it's part of the agreement. And so it's a process that requires a number of things: originality, persistence, patience, perseverance, and meticulous record keeping of who did you contact, when did you contact them, what's their time window for reply, should you follow up, or should you just assume that they're not interested if they don't get back to you? All of those things. It's very similar to any other sales process. You need to understand what I call the language of the market. The language of the market of agents is different from any other language. So that's kind of a wrap up of what I've learned so far about how to get yourself an agent. Like I always do, every time I learn something new, I think of, well, how can this serve other people that I'm working with? In fact, I have several other authors who I know are going to want to go through that same process, and I'll be able to give them some pointers, some tips, and possibly some guidance on doing so. So that's what I learned today, Greg.
That's what you learned today. Fabulous. Fresh. Hot out of the fire.
Hot off the presses, buddy.
Hot off the presses. Yeah, some other.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So that's great. You and I deal with people who are much further back in the process most of the time.
Yes.
So,
most of the time. Yeah.
But it's good to know what you're getting into.
It is. It is. Yeah. Like I said, for most authors, either self-publishing or hybrid publishing is really the way to go, unless you really are ready to commit to the vast amount of energy that it takes to promote a major work and see if you can get some attention from people further up the food chain, so to speak. And approaching larger media, which is one of the reasons why people do all these things, is that their hope is that it's going to catch somebody's eye and be turned into a Netflix series or, a blockbuster or something like that. So, and those are hard markets to capture. But if your book is good enough and energizing enough, and you have the right contacts, that you hit the right people at the right moment, and timing is also important, it could happen. It could.
Yeah. And I'm thinking that even if you have the right book
Mhm.
and the right market for it, it's still going to be, as you said, very time consuming, and it can be quite expensive too.
Right. Right, right. Because the other thing that a lot of people don't realize is that even when you get a contract with a major house, you may spend a lot of time promoting it. Oh, you know what? I just thought of something else. I was going to mention this earlier. Um, you can actually get yourself a book contract on your own without an agent by doing what my friend, the mystery writer, has done. She first published three books of a series herself. She did it on Lulu, and it's a theme. She does senior sleuths, as she calls it. Marcia Rosen, lovely lady who was a book marketer for well over 20 years, closed her agency in Manhattan, moved to California, and decided she was going to write her own books. So she's doing that. She wrote the first three. Then she made a brilliant pitch letter to a publisher saying, "These are my first three books that I published, and I would like to create a series for you." And they said yes. And she got a contract to write a series of 5 books from them. And so that's another way to go, is to, be an accomplished author, have something that's really dynamite. And again, make the effort to learn how to pitch, who to pitch to. And, in her case, she's a crime writer. So she did things like join the Crime Writers Association and work the knowledge that she had of the publishing industry from earlier in her life. And she decided that was the strategy for her. She wasn't going to go find an agent. She was going to be the agent herself. And it worked.
Yeah. So there's a certain amount of creativity comes to this. But I think one of the key things that you said is at some point you're going to have to write a really good query letter.
Yes.
So either for finding an agent, or as your friend did, getting her book with the publisher directly
Hmm.
after she had gone through what, 3 rounds of self-publishing?
Yeah. Yeah. Self publishing, promoting her book herself, and then again, that involves things like going on a book signing tour. And, she went on a book signing tour to the East Coast, did 5 cities in 6 days, and came back to California going, I can't believe I just did that. And now I'm going to have to do it again. I mean, she had a good time, she got to go back to New York and all kinds of, fun things, but she was exhausted. So,
Yeah.
but it was what she wants to do. So it's okay.
So you mentioned that one book on literary agents. Where else might people look for information about this?
Well, there you can always ask Dr. Google. Dr. Google knows a lot. And, you could do something like have a Google query that says, what agents like to represent crime novels, for instance, and see what they say.
Yeah.
Because, on the sites of these places, they tell what genres they like to represent. And, some of the houses have 5 to 10 to even 15 agents. So then you want to click on each agent's profile and find out which one feels right for you based on what they say about what they like to represent. Other agencies don't have any of that, and you just put your query in an inline submission form.
Yeah.
So,
So back in the day, the writer's market was a very good resource for that.
mm-hmm,
For I don't know how current. I haven't really paid attention recently, but it
mm-hmm,
was a good place to find a list of the publishers, what kind of genres they had, and I think there's
mm-hmm,
also a section for literary agents too.
right.
And yeah,
Yeah. And then there's something called Publishers Marketplace,
okay,
which is a paid subscription, and they give you access to all kinds of information of that nature too. So that's what
so
I know today.
yeah, so writing the books actually the smallest part.
Yeah, it really depends on what you want your book to do. Again, do you want your book to be something that your friends and family and your marketplace that you already have can enjoy? In that case, it's that simple.
Yeah,
Self-publish, do your own marketing. One of the authors I work with has done that and used the self-published book that she created to launch a whole new section of her life where she's now going around speaking at events,
Yeah.
talking to people about the topic of her book. So, again, if you're a speaker, which a lot of the people I'm working with are, then that's a great way to go.
Yeah. It's probably never a better time to self-publish now, because you can do amazing things with zero budget. And
Yep.
then you can go up to, there's levels where you were talking about book design, cover design, various levels of editing. You can get, some of all of that for a modest price, and then depending on your project, because you have much more detailed, longer term projects, and you charge professional rates. So it's yeah. So it's
Mm-hmm.
but really is, like, there's no reason why somebody can't publish a book now if they really want to.
That's right.
Uh, and if they really want to try to get into that big traditional publisher, you just have to realize that there are a lot of steps, a lot of things
Mm-hmm.
to know about and make decisions, and quite a bit of work to get there.
Right, right, yeah, and there's another lady I know who has a vast array of services. Who she'll give you 15 minutes of free time to talk to her about your project, and decide if she feels like she wants to have another conversation with you. And she will represent you, and she will get you a book deal, and it's going to cost you.
Yeah.
If she decides to represent you. So, there's a lot of different ways to approach it. If you want to know more about it, reach out to me on LinkedIn or any of the platforms where you find me or you find Greg, and let's set up a conversation and talk about your idea.
Yeah, it's a great place to start. We figured out what's best for you.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's the only way.
What's your thing you always say? What do you want to get out of this? What's that?
What do you want this to do?
What do you want this to do? Yeah.
Yeah, because it goes back to that central principle of design, of the Mies van der Rohe: form follows function. What do you want it to do? And then we figure out what the form is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. As Betty mentioned, you can track her down on LinkedIn. All of her contact information is there. And we have a summary of our total traffic and conversion. There's a place there to make an appointment with, I think, all of us at once, if you want. And let's start a conversation.
That's what to do.
Okay. And anyway, happy Monday, everybody, and
Yes.
carry on.
Carry on.